Good morning, everyone. Today we're learning mציעא Daf Tes. We're going to start a few lines down, just before the wide lines. Rav Kahana, Yehovu Leviva Kisna. They gave him money on flax that he had. Lasoif Aika Kisna, the price went up before the people did Meshicha on the produce. Also, Rav, they came in front of Rav to hear what to do. Omale, because he accepted some of the money for the kitna, he didn't accept the full money. So let's say the kitna was worth 100 and he received £10 already. So for what you received money, havlehu, you should give it to them, and otherwise you get mishapara. Rav leshitoso, you hold that only kenegdo you koina. The hidoch on the rest, the other 90, dvarim ninu, it's only words, it's only agreement, there was no mois. If a price changed, that you're changing your mind and you said you're going to sell worth of 100 and now you're changing your mind, it's not considered anything wrong with that. The Itma, we learned, Dvarim, if there's agreement of words without any contract or kinyan, Ravoma, ein boy mishum chasur amona, no problem, you could change your mind. Rabbi Yochanan Homa yesh boy mishum chasur amona. It's the problem, even if it's only words with no mois or nothing, still you're not trustworthy person if you change your mind and you back out of the deal. Said the Gemara Mesiah, we have a kasha. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda Oima, Mata Mudloima. What does it mean in the pasuk? It says in tzedek. In is a type of measurement, and it's a smaller measurement than an ephah. So it says that you in the measurement when you measure in, don't lie about that it's in if it's, let's say, less than in, and say this is an in and sell it for the price of an in. It says Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Valoi in Bechlal Heifa Hoyo. In the beginning of the pasuk it says Eifa you shouldn't lie about Eifa. So in is also part of Eifa, it's a smaller amount. So why do the Torah have to say they shouldn't lie about in? Obviously, if you can't lie about Eifa, you shouldn't also lie about the in. They're coming to tell you a drasha. When it says hin, it's coming to tell you something else, not measurement. Hin without a yudwe means hein, yes. When you say yes or you say no about the deal, you should keep your word. So you could see clearly that we have a brayso that says that you have to keep your word and you can't just change your mind. So how is Rav saying that there's no problem? That's coming to tell you, the posuk's coming to tell you, the brayso shelo yidaber echod b'peh v'echod b'leiv. If I in my heart think that I'm not going to sell you this car, let's say, and I tell you, let's say I'm going to sell you the car, and inside I know I have no plans to sell it, that's a problem. That's echod b'leiv and echod b'peh, that your mouth and your heart is different. That's an issue. But when I agreed to sell something and afterwards I changed my mind because the price changed, that's no issue to change your mind about, and it's not considered that you don't keep your word. Basically, we have another kasha. Rab Shimon says, even though that we said that when you do meshicha on a talis, it's koina the money. Ve'ein dinazov koina talis, but meshicha on money, on the dinazov is not koina the talis. Mikol mo koin kachalocha, even though that you get mishapara if you don't keep your word, that's the halacha, and Bezdin can't force you to give the talis even if you did meshicha on the mois. But he said, man should do a mabul, man should do a flogo, and later on in the brayso, Rashi says, and we had this brayso early on, we say that, and if you change your mind about words, if someone had the agreement and he changed his mind, you don't get mishipara, but it's not a good thing. Rabbanan won't be happy with him. So it says clearly in the faith of the brayso that even if there's no money involved, you should not change your words. And how could Rav say that he can? Says the Gemara Tanoi, to Machlokes Tanoim, if you have an agreement, a verbal agreement, can you change your mind or not? That now we learned, Ma'aseh Rabbi Yochanan ben Masiya she'amar lebnoi, he told his son, go rent out. We need workers for a certain job. Go get some workers. Olach, his son went to Posak Le'mezones. He said to the workers, I'll give you so and so money, and also I'll give you food. And he didn't say exactly what type of food. When he came to tell his father about the agreement that he did with the workers, his father told him, Bni, my son, even if you do a very big meal like Suda Shloima, Now the very fancy meal, lo yotze yedei chayvasa. You know mekayim where you're posik with them is it's not good enough. They need even a bigger suda. Imoim with them, why Shem ne Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov, they the sons of Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov. And when you say mezonos stam without saying exactly what type of food you're going to give them, it's like you agreed to give them like a suda of Avraham. And that's a massive suda. We can't give them such a big suda. So he told them, Elo, actually atchilu b'melocha, before they start work, say ve'emer go tell them, al menashe ein lochem olai, all I'm going to feed you elapas v'kitnis belvad. I'll give you plain bread with kitnis. I'm not going to give you a full meal like of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Said the Gemara, that's the end of the Mishnah. Said the Gemara, v'isal kedai toch dvarim yesh bo mishum chasur amono. If you hold like Rabbi Yochanan, who holds that you're not allowed to change your word, how can he tell his son, go be choizer by you and say, we're not going to give you food, we're going to give you specific food, much, much less. Oh, it's Mechusur Amona, you agreed already onto something. So the Gemara, shiny also on the poiling Gufayu Loi Samcho Datai. Over there it's different that the workers themselves didn't have smichas das on what the son said. Why not? My time. And made they know the Alavua Samach, that this son was renting them for the father. And therefore, the father needs to agree, and therefore, until the father doesn't agree on the exact details, they know that he might change a deal. Says the Gemara, if so, why does it say, go tell them before they start the work? Even if they started the work, Nami, the din should be the same, they could change a deal because they know that the deal is not a deal until the father agrees. Says the Gemara, if they started working, they say the deal that was done is a final deal. Amru, they say, if he obviously told his father why he agreed with them, and now if they started the work without changing the deal, and he's happy about it, and therefore it's already too late to change your mind. But before they start work, they know that the deal is not a set deal until he goes back to his father and tells him what the deal was, and he comes and tells them that it's okay, you could start working. Therefore, in such a case, there's no mechusar amona. But when someone says something on his own accord, not on his father's deal, so you should not change your mind. Said the Gemara, did Rabbi Yochanan say that you shouldn't change your word when you only had the deal by a verbal deal? Reuven comes to Shimon and tells him, I'm going to give you a matana. He could change his mind. Said the Gemara, Shita obviously could change his mind. There was no Mashiach done. It was just verbally. Obviously, there's no kinyan done. Elo, it must be that you're allowed to be choyver, and there's no problem of changing your words. And we just said before that Rabbi Yochanan holds that dvarim yesh bo mechusar amona. If you said something, you should not change your mind. You should not change your deal. The Gemara, Amar Papa, Moidi Rabbi Yochanan b'matona muetes t'samcha da'atay. That when did it say matona ani noisen lecha yochol lachzer boy? That's talking about when you're giving a big present. If someone, Reuben comes to Shimon and says, I'm going to give you $1 billion. So Shimon thinks, Reuben's never going to give me $1 billion. And therefore, Reuben can change his mind. But if Reuben promised Shimon £1, a present, so then Shimon trusts that Reuben's really going to give him £1. So if now Reuben changes his mind, then there's a problem. So when did Rabbi Yochanan say there's a problem? When it's a maton muetes, when something with a smichus das, then it's a problem of changing your mind. But when it's a big thing, when the person doesn't even believe that it's going to happen, there's no problem of changing your mind. Ochinam mistabra, I'll bring you right to this. The Omar Ravo, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Yisrael, Sh'omar le ben Levi, Ben Yisrael, who told Levi, I have a kur, it's a certain amount of maisa that I need to give to the Levi. I'm going to give it to you. And the Yisrael could decide to which Levi to give it to. And I never gave it to him yet. Ben Levi, this Levi, Rasha la soisei trumas maisa al mokim achar. Now Levi is mechuyev to give to the Kohen trumas maisa of all his maisa that he has. So he already could build on this promised kur and could be mafresh it on other thing that he needs to be mafresh. And now, when a Yisrael gives a Levi, it's not cool, even if it's a kur that's a big amount, it's considered matana muetes because it doesn't really belong to the Yisrael. The Yisrael's whole bailus is decide to give it to this Levi or to this Levi, but it's not real bailus. It's called a matonim muetes. So the Gemara, if you're going to say that lechatchila a person can't change his mind after he promised a matonim muetes, that's why Rashi, that's why the Levi could already be mafresh from it. Trumas Maisa, if you're going to tell me, if you're going to tell me that if you promise a present, you could change your mind, like Rabbi Yochanan said earlier on, and there's no difference between a matana muetes and a matana gdoila. Am I Rashi? Why is this Levi allowed to be mafresh on this present that was promised to him? It comes out that maybe the Yisrael won't give it to him, and the Trumas Nochal, the Trumas Mais, and then he's eating tevel, and it's a big problem. So Elamai, we could see there's a difference between matana gdoila and matana muetes, and by when you give a ben Levi, it's considered matana muetes, and that because you're not allowed to change your word, the Levi could trust that and could already be mafresh Trumas Maisa. So the Gemara Ochem Askinan, we're doicha. It's not the Yisrael didn't just promise it to the Levi, he gave it to the Levi, and then the Levi gave it back to the Yisrael to keep it for him for the meanwhile. So the Gemara, if that's the case, let's look at the sefer of this case. If the Yisrael changed his mind and gave it to a different Levi, every Levi is called the Ben Levi, gave it to a different Levi, the Levi who was promised there at the beginning only could have taroimis, he has complaints, but he doesn't have a momonistic tvia against him. That's talking about where he took it, the Levi already accepted it, and afterwards he went back and he deposited it by the Yisrael. What's pshat? The Levi only has tainis. Once the Levi did it's his money. If the Yisrael gave it to someone else, he's a ganev, it belongs to this Levi. What do you mean? He has a tvia against him. Elolav, what do we hear? Shma mino b'delonu notlo. He must be talking about whether the Levi never accepted it yet. It was only promised to him. Shma mino, and why could the Levi already be mafresh truma or maisal mokum acher? Because it's a matana muetes. A matana muetes, a person, if you're a Rabbi Yochanan, is not allowed to change his mind, and therefore the Levi could trust on that he could be mafresh already trumas maisal mokum acher. Okay, says the Gemara, O Gavra, this person, the Yoiv Zuzi Asumsumi, gave money to buy sesame. So if Ike Asumsumi, the price of sesame went up, Hodrubru, the person who sold it, changed his mind, said, I don't want to sell it anymore, I want to sell it to someone else for the higher price. V'amru, but they told the person who bought it, less. V'amrule, they told him, less lon sumsumi. We don't have any sumsumi. I know we sold it to you, but we don't have any more left. It was a mistake. Shkol zuzach, take your money back. Loi shakul zuzei. He said, I don't want to take my money back. I want the sumsumim. I'm not taking my money. Loi shakul zuzei. Ignuv, the money got stolen. Also the kamedi Rava, they came in front of Rava, what's the din? Amalei cave on the Amruloch. Since they told you, Shkol Zuzach, take your money back, and he never took your money back, not only they not consider the Shem Mesacha as Chai V'Gneva Aveda, even the Shem Mechinam they not. Because they told you, take your money back, we don't want this money, you didn't take your money, it's your fault, they will not make capital on themselves, any shmir on this money, and they could be Choyze boy, because Moy Seinim Koinois, and therefore you should take the money back. Amrli Rabbanan who were there told Rava, this guy who sold the Sumsumim was Choyze boy from a deal. There was money involved, so they did Mishapara. So if they Choyze boy, they should get Mishapara. Amalu, so Rava told Rabbanan, Ochinami, yeah, in Ochinami. We tell these people, the sellers, or you get Mishapara because you change your mind on a money deal, or you don't get Mishapara and you have to give the guy the Sumsumim. Amar Papi. Thou the story, the figure, so on. Amar Papi. Amar Ravina. Ravina told me, Ledidi. Amar Papi. Amar Ravina. Ledidi. Amar Omer Rabbanon. To me, Ravina said to me, this person from Rabbanon, Rav Tava Shmei, and his name was Rav Tavas. For Amilon, some people say Rav Shmur Bar Zutra Shmei. His name was Rav Shmur Bar Zutra. That the story was a whole different story. If they'd fill up the whole space of this world with money or whatever, with gold, I'd never change my word. If I promise someone sumsumim for a certain price, I'd keep my deal. The story happened with me, and the story is a whole different story. That day, it was Erev Shabbos. I was sitting. This person came, he was standing at the door. Omali, he told me, do you have some sesame to sell me? And that's why the mistake from the story before was with sumsumim, they tried buying sumsumim and the price changed. But the story, how he says, it's a whole different. Do you have any sumsumim to sell me? I told him, no, I don't have. So he told me, this person at the door, they have it, this money that I want to buy the sesame, and you don't have sesame, it's Erev Shabbos, I don't have time to get home, so can I put it for you as a deposit? Can you be my shoymer on this money? It's getting dark and it's muktzah. So I told him, my house is in front of you. He put it in his house. When it got stolen. Also, we came in front of Rava. So Rava told this person, when someone tells you, when you want to ask someone, can you keep this something for me? And he says, oh, here's my house is in front of you. Such a type of lotion, not only that he's not considered Shem Mesacha, even a Shem Mechinam is not. It's a bit schwer, it should be a Shem Mesacha, he never got paid for it, but Rav is saying even a Shem Mechinam is not, because he didn't say, oh, okay, I'll take the money, I'll be a Shoyma. No, he said, yeah, put it in my house. My house is in front of you, but he didn't say, I'm going to be Shoyma. And therefore, even if it's a Pshir, he'll be Potter. So that was the story of the Sumsumi, nothing to do with buying Sumsumi and changing a mind. Amrulei, so Ravina told this person, Rabbanon, how could this be the story? Amrulei Rabbanon Rava. The end of the story was that Rabbanon told Rava, that the seller should be mikabel on himself mishapara. The story that you're telling me, there was no mechira done here. There was only a shmira. And the person from Rabbanon told Ravina, that part of the story never happened, and it's not true. Rab Shimon says, so we learned if Reuben gave Shimon money for item and he never did Meshicha, they both could be choizer from this deal. Rab Shimon argued, and it says only the one who the money is by him, the moicha, he could change his mind about the deal, but the loikeach can't change his mind about the deal. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Omar Rab Shimon, Amosai, when can you be choizer for the deal? Bisman shakesef aperis biad moicha. When Reuven gave Shimon the moicha, the money, and Shimon still has the money and the fruit, then they could be choizer. The moicha could be choizer. Avol kesef biad moicha. If the money is by the seller, the payers and the produce biad loikeach got to the buyer. He can't change his mind. Why? Because the money is still in the hand of the loikeach. And that's the Gemara straight away asks, that lashon doesn't make sense. If it's in the hand of the loikeach, biad moichu. What do you mean? Because the money's in the hand of the loikeach. The money's in the hand of the moicher, it says. How does it mean kaspo biyodoi? So the Gemara, no. Elo mipnei should make kaspo biyodoi. It means because the value of the money is in his hand. I mean that he has a produce, he has a paris. So the Gemara pshita. Obviously, everyone agree in this case. He got his money. He did Meshicha on the Paris. For sure, it's a done deal. Why could he be Choyzer boy? What's the Chiddush of Rab Shimon? And it's not talking about literally like the case where the Loikeach has a Paris. It's not such a case. The Loikeach, the buyer, his attic was Muskeres Biad Moicha, was rented out to the seller. And the fruit of the seller is in this attic. And it's not pshat that the buyer is koina b'kinin chotza, because it's not his chotza now. You rented it out, and when you rent out your property, it's a kinin chotza for the one who rents it. So it's only din kinin chotza, but because the paris of the deal is sitting in the attic that originally belongs to the loikeach, in such a case we say mois koinos, even though he didn't do meshicha. What's the reason to kin Rabbanon Meshicha? Why do Rabbanon do Takonon Meshicha and we say Moisenim Koinois Ver Hashem Hayomi Roni Serfach Techa Ba'aliyah? Because we're choishesh that if the seller, the kinyan tzchal, just from giving over the money, he won't protect this guy's wheat that's in his attic because he says, I don't care, it's his wheat. But in such a case, since this attic actually belongs to the buyer, if a fire occurs over there, he wants to save his attic that belongs to him, so he'll make all what he can do to turn off the fire and also to save his fruit. So in such a case, we don't need to make a takana that Mois Einem Koinos. And only Rab Shimon agrees to this. Rabbanan L'chora don't agree to this L'chora. This person, he gave money to buy wine, but he never did Mashiach on the wine. So Shama the Koboile Minzebe, the Bei Parza Grafula, he heard that this Sar, secondary to the king, wants to steal this wine. Omalei. So he told the seller, Avle Zuzah, I want my money back. Loi boi nechamra, I don't want the wine. Also, the Kamei Rav Chisda, he came in front of Rav Chisda. Omalei, Rav Chisda said, Kederach shetikne meshucha b'moicherim, like the moicher could go back from the deal until Mashiach is done. Kach tikne meshucha b'lekuchas, the same also the lekuchas could be choize by him until the Mashiach is done. Like Chachomim of the Mishnah, and therefore this loikeach, this buyer, could tell the guy, I want my money back and I don't want to take the wine. Said the Mishnah, we came to a new Mishnah. It's a bit of a difficult sugi over here. Oino means when someone sells something worth a certain price for a higher price and he cheats the buyer, or that a buyer cheats a seller, he buys it for too cheap, he tells the seller, oh, this is worth little, and he buys it off him. So there's three levels. There's Oino that we're going to see in the Mishnah what it is, how much it is, and then there's less than Oino, that's Mechila, where it's only a little bit overpriced or underpriced. And then there's over Oino, that's Oter Mekach. We'll see exactly in the Gemara exactly how it works, but there's three levels. Said the Mishnah, Oino, what's the din of the where we say it's Oino? So Arba Kesef, if you cheated someone with 4 silver coins, Me'esrim Arba, and the deal was 24, we're going to see exactly the Gemara what exactly the case is, but cheating of 4 from 24 Kesef Lesela, that one seller golden coins worth 24 silver coins. So if someone cheated 4 coins from 24, that's considered Oino Shtus Lamekach 6, because how much is 4 fits into 24? 4 times 6 is 24. So therefore, a 6 is considered Oino. Ad Mosai Mutalach, if someone was cheated, how long does he have back to come back to the seller and say, you cheated me? Ad Kadesh Yar Latagar, until he could show it to the wholesaler, someone who knows about values, or to his relative to ask him if he did a good deal or not. But after that, it's too late, you can't come and complain. Or Rab Tarfin Balud, Rab Tarfin, who lived in Lud, said the psak different to what we said in the ratio of the Mishnah. Oh no, the Shmoine Kesef is not 4 Kesef, the Shmoine Kesef Me'esrim V'arba Kesef, the seller, from 24 coins. That's one seller. Shlish Lamekach, a third. That means if you sell something even a third more expensive, that's much more than a 6 more expensive. Until that, it's okay. Only when it's an 8th, only when it's a third, it's considered Oino. The Samchut Agrei Lud, the people in Lud, the wholesalers who would sell, and they knew the value, and they'd always try to get a better value than something was really worth. They said, oh, instead of selling something worth 24 for 28, I could sell it for 32. They were very happy about it. And then that he told them another thing, but the person who buys it, not only until he's married Lataga or Lekroive, he could be Choize boy, he has a whole day, it's a much longer time. Omuloi, so the Tagore Lud were not so happy anymore. They said, Yaniach lon Rav Tarfon and Komeinu, leave it as it is. That's only you could only cheat up to a 6, oversell, but the person could only change his mind. That's much less than a full day. And they went back to go of Kshitas Chachomim, that's Shtus, and it's Itma, we learned. So I'd like to explain this Gemara a bit outside, and then we're going to learn it inside. So we know very good everyone agrees that if you sell something worth 24, let's say 6, you sell something 6 for 7, you oversold it or undersold it for 5, so the deal is the mekach, that means the sale is 6, the real value, and you went up or down in a 6, that's in 1, that means you sold it for 7 or for 5. That's a classic case of Oino, everyone agrees that's Oino. That's at 6 of the sale's 6. That's a real value. The question is, what's it then when the value is 5 and you sold it for 6? So if you look at the value is 5, 1 on top of 5, that's a fifth, it's more than a 6. That's more than Oino. That's if you look at the value of the item. But if you look at the deal, how much did he sell it for? For 6. And how much was Oino overpriced? 1. So it is a 6th of the money transaction, not of the real value. It's a 6th of the money transaction. The transaction was 6, and the money was, the price was 1. That's a 6. So not the machlokes Rabbi Shmuel, is that considered oino, or is that considered more than oino, because it's from the value of the produce, that's 5, that's a fifth, it's more than a 6. Or in another case, something that's worth 7 and you sold it for 6, underpriced it. So if you look at the value of the product that was worth 7, 1 to 7 is less than a 6, so it should be less than a no, shouldn't be a problem. But if you look at how much it was sold for 6. How much was the cheating was 1? That's a 6 of 6, and therefore it is no. So that's also the machlokes Rabbi Shmuel in both of those cases. So do you look only at the sale price, the value, or do you look only at the value of the actual item and then you calculate the 6? Or do you calculate the 6 also from the transaction of the money? Let's see that inside. Said the Gemara, Itma, we learned Rav Omar Shtus Mekach Sheninu. In the Mish, it only depends on the value of the item, not on the transaction. For sure, I agree. Shmuel says that if it's a 6 of the value of the item, that's a classic case of Oino. But another classic case of Oino, if it's a 6 of the value of the money. So the Gemara explains, Shavishita b'chamsha, if I sold something 6 for 5, or Shavishita b'shiva, I sold something 6 for 7, Kula almeloi pligi, Bein Rav, Ben Shmuel hold, the boss Mekach Hozdin, and then we look at the value of the item that was worth 6. And a 6 of 6 is 1, and therefore if I sold it for 5 or for 7, it's no. Keep pligi, whether the machlokes, Shavi chamsha b'shita, if I sold something 5 worth 5 for 6, v'shav shiva b'shito, if I sold something worth 7 and I sold it for 6. Lishmuel doma bosa mois, and then we go also after the value of the transaction, as linan idivi ido have it. Both of these cases it's no, because it's the transaction at the end of the day was 6 and the was 1, so that's a 6th. And then we go only at the value of the actual item, not of how much money was transaction over here. If I sold something worth 5 for 6, it's more than no, because that's from 5, 1 of 5 is a fifth, that's more than a 6, and therefore it's worse than no, and therefore the whole mechira is bottle. If I sold something worth 7 for 6, that's less than a 6 from the value of the item, because 1 out of 7 is less than a 6. Mechila, it's considered mechila, is moichel, because it's less than no. Shmuel says no. When do we say that you mechila if it's less than no, less than a shtus? So bitter mekach when it's more than a shtus. Where there's no shtus, not on the value of the item and not on the transaction. If there is a 6, doesn't matter if it's on the value of the item, or doesn't matter on the transaction, or Oino have it. It's considered Oino, and therefore it has a din Oino, not Mechila, or not Bitul Mekach. Nan, we learned in our Mishnah, Oino Dalet Kesef, Me'esrim Be'arba Kesef Lesel Ashtus Lemekach. What are we talking about? My love, or we're not talking about the Zovin Shovi Esrin, that he sold something worth 20 Be'esrim Be'arba for 24. We see from here Shtus Mois Namishoninu, because when you look at something worth 20, it's like something if you compare it, it's like we're selling something worth 5 for 6, because 20 and you add another 4, that's more than a shtus. on 20. 4 is more, is a fifth of 20. And in the Mishnah it says that's considered the shtus. Elomai, we could see like Shmuel, that you go also on the value of the transaction, not only on the value of the product. So the Gemara law, the Zovin, Shavi Esrim Be'arba Be'esrim, it's talking about where he sold the value of 24 and he sold it for 20. So therefore it's a shtus of the mekach of the value of the item. It was worth 24, a 6 of 24 is 4, and he sold it for 20. Says the Gemara, Minisana, who got cheated in this case? Moicha, because he sold it for too cheap. Ema Sefer, let's look in the Sefer of this Mishnah that we just learned. Admo Saimutalachze, until when could you give it back? Enough time that he could show it to the guy who knows the price or to his relative. V'Omar Rav Nachman, and Rav Nachman said on that, Lo shonu, that's not true, that they only have until you marry la tagol kroiva elo loikeach. The buyer, he has only that amount of time because he has a product in his hand. He could go to a guy who knows or is to a relative and ask him what's the value of it. Aval moicher that sold it, he doesn't have this palace in his hand or wherever it was. Lo'ilam choize, even a year later he could be choize because it takes him time until he sees an item that's exactly like the item he sold and he realizes he got cheated. So it can't be the Mishnah's talking about where he sold something 24 for 20 because then the moicher got cheated, and then the continuation of the Mishnah doesn't make sense. He has only Achiar Lataka or Lekroivoi. If it's Moicha who got cheated in the Mishnah, he has Lo'ilam to be Choize. It must be that the Loikach got cheated. So the Gemara Elo, the case in the Mishnah is talking about the Zovin where he sold Shavi Esim Ra'aba, something that's worth 24, but Esim V'tamni, and he sold it for 28. And therefore, it fits in also the Firav, because it's a shtus of the mekach. The value is 24, a fix of that is 4, and he sold it for 28, and who was Nisana the Loikech, and that's why it's actually Latago Lekroivoy. Now, we learned in the Mishnah another case, Urautaf from Belud, or Taf from Pask in the Lud. I know Shmoina Kesef, it's 8. Mesem Rabba from 24 Kesef Losela, Shlish Lamekach a third. My lava, we're not talking about the Zovin Shavi Shitzri, he sold something worth 16, Besem Rabba for 24. The Shmaminon, we could see that when we say a shtus, it's not only on the value of the item, it's also on the whole deal. And therefore, out of 24, how much is the third? 8. It makes sense. It fits in like fishbowl. But if you have, no, it's a half. The value of the item is 16. It's a half, and if you have, it should be much more than such a case. So the Gemara law, the case is the Zobin Shavi Esim Be'arba. It's somewhere where he sold something that's worth 24, Beshitza for 16. Said the Gemara Minisana, who got cheated? Moicha. Moicha got cheated. He sold it for too cheap. Ema Sefer. Let's look in the Sefer of the Mishnah. It says, Omar Lahem, he told the Tagori Lud, that he's allowed to change his mind the whole day. Rav Nachman said, Lo shonu elo loikeach. The whole din of a time scale that he could be choive boy is only about the loikeach. Aval moicher, the seller, loilam choive, could always change his mind. So it can't be talking about where the moicher got cheated. It must be the loikeach got cheated. So the Gemara Elo, it's talking about the Zovin Shavi Chovdalet Betaltim train. He sold something worth 24 for 32, and therefore fits in also the Firav, because a third of 24 is 8, and he sold it for 32. And that's a classic case, a Ben Rav Ben Shmuel's masking that's considered Oino, and therefore there's no kasha on to Rav. Tani Kavosei the Shmuel, we have a bright that says clearly like Shmuel. It says Misha Utal Olav, the one who got cheated, he decides what to do when he got cheated. Ketzad, what's the case? Someone, Reuben sold Shimon something worth 5 for 6, and that's a case where Rav Shmuel have a machloikis. And if you Rav, it's more than Oino, and if you Shmuel, that's considered Oino. Minisano, who got cheated in such a case? Loikech, because he paid 1 extra. Yad Loikech al, therefore, in such a case, whether Oino, he has the upper hand, the Loikech. He could tell the seller, you cheated me 1, give me back 1. Or tell him, tell him, give me the whole money back. I don't want to do business with you. Take back your item. I don't want it. Or tell him, he could say, you cheated me 1, give me 1 back. He has the upper hand to decide if to cancel this transaction or to get back the money that he was cheated. But from here already, we could see it clearly like Fishmul, because if you have in such a case, hey, for Vov, someone told something worth 5 for 6. If you Rav, the din is it's bitu mekach. It's not considered oino. It's more than oino because on the price of the value of the item, it's more than a 6. And here it said that's considered oino, so it's a clear raya to Shmuel. Continue the brayso. Mocha lo ishov shesh b'chomesh. If you sold him something that's worth 6 for 5, minisane who got cheated moicha that he sold it for too cheap. Yad moicha l'alyoino. He has the upper hand. Roto ima teni mikri. He could tell the buyer, I want back my item I sold you for too cheap and take back your money. Oy tell him he says you cheat me, you underpay me one, pay me one. And he has the upper hand. But from the ratio we could see a clear raya to Shmuel that Oino is not only on the value of the item, it's also on the transaction. Because the transaction was 6 and the Oino was 1, that's a 6. Even though that if we look at the value of the item was 5 and Oino 1, that's more than a 6, we still consider it Oino because on the value of the transaction that happened over here, there is a 6, and that's why it's considered Oino. Shkoyach, a good moyed.